Welcome everybody to the Center's focus this week on the United States Association of Blind Athletes, their focus on National Blind Sports Week. So we are excited to be celebrating this event alongside our amazing partners at USABA. And in true Center fashion, even though it's a national event, for us, it's really important to shed light on what's happening around the world. And so because of that, we have called in our amazing, brilliant partner, athlete, genius speaker, Marcos Lima from Brazil. He participated in the 2018 Global Sports Mentoring Program, Sport for Community. So Marcos, welcome. You look like you're in warm and sunny Rio de Janeiro.
Yes, nice to hear your kind words regarding to me, and it's a kind of big pleasure to take part on GSMP project two years ago, and it's even better that past 2 years, we are still in contact.
Yes, we are definitely in contact. In fact, I guess it was a year ago in the spring that we selected you to be the torchbearer to bring back and pass the baton to your new brothers and sisters of the GSMP, because you were such an exemplary model of what a GSMP alum can do and the positive impact that you can make in the world. So congratulations for that accolade as well.
Thank you. It was a pleasure and a big surprise to me as well.
Well, it was well deserving. And let's jump right into part of what made it so well deserving, because you left the US, you went home with an action plan with some ideas, and you already had a huge YouTube following, professional speaker, changing the hearts and minds of people about the perceptions of people with disabilities. Can you tell us what has happened since you returned from the GSMP? What are some positive things that you've accomplished and some progress that you've been able to make in this area?
First of all, when I came back from GSMP, I was more confident about myself, about my way of speaking, because it's a thing that I really love and I really believe on that. And I liked it so much of my presentation during the GSMP last week. And I thought, okay, if I could impress the Americans, even with my English is not so good as it could be, I can do big things on Portuguese here in Brazil. And becoming self-confident about myself, it's always a big thing when your job depends on it. My job depends on trusting myself. If one day I don't trust in myself anymore, don't trust that I'm able to speak to people, there is nothing left. And I'm here in Brazil, I'm the biggest blind YouTuber. In this moment, I have more or less 270,000 of followers and almost 90 million of views. And I work in companies, universities, schools, bringing to them nice words about people with impairment. Not only about me, but about blind people. It named Blind Stories. And I tell them stories, my stories, how my life is going to. And through my stories, I try to engage them in a soft way and a funny way about the lives of people with disability.
Awesome. Okay, so speaking of stories, because your whole thing is around blind stories, your YouTube channel, you're a new author and book, you've written a book, which we'll get into that later, about blind stories. But just for our audience today, do you mind sharing with us your story, the one that you shared with us on GSMP, just about your own journey of becoming blind, at what age, and then maybe some of the anything that stands out for you after that moment in your life?
I was born with a eye disease named glaucoma, and I became totally blind when I was 6 years old. Even I had like 16 surgeries on my eyes during my childhood. And since then, I'm completely blind. I was graduated in journalism. And since 10 years, I'm used to deliver speech to companies, universities, and schools. But it became professional, when I took part on the Rio 2016 Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Worked there during 3.5 years. And during that time, I did many speech to many schools, universities, and partners. When my job finished there in 2016, I had no job, and speeches became like my life, the way I pay my bills. And
That's right. That's exactly right. Marcos, do you mind to say, because to have 16 surgeries by the time you were 6 years old, that's really traumatic for a young person to make sense of. And I remember so distinctly you telling me how much pain you were in and how much suffering with the bandages on your eyes. Do you mind to share that? Because I think that was such a defining moment and spoke to your strength and your courage and your resiliency, even at a really young age.
Actually, I didn't remember a lot about that, unfortunately. Many of my surgery were not in my city, Rio de Janeiro. They were made in a 500 away city named Belo Horizonte. Because Belo Horizonte is the reference on eye treatments. Mm-hmm. And so my childhood were not about surgeries only. They were about traveling 6-7 hours by bus, and about recovering like 24 to 48 hours after surgery in a dark room. And when someone needed to hang my to take my hand to avoid, I could just take the bandage out, and it's traumatic so much. I need to I use it, eye medicines. I don't know the name in English. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Eye drops.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my girlfriend is ophthalmologist and she knows the names. And I used eye drops, and they were very painful. And of course, when you are 3-4 years old, you don't care about eye drops or things. And I remember about pain. It was too much painful to look to the light, artificial light, sunlight. I couldn't see a little bit, but I paid a really big price, high price for that, because I was supposed to be in a dark room most part of the time, because it was painful so much to look to the lights.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but then your life completely changed, and for you, in some ways, you said it became a better life, right? After all of that pain. I remember you speaking about this. What year and how old were you when you had this crazy idea to become the first blind Brazilian to go to Europe to snow ski? Tell us how this happened.
Actually, I was completely blind when I was 6 years old. It was for me like a liberation. It was my July 4th. Mm-hmm. England was more or less my little site when I got completely blind blind. There were no surgeries anymore. There were no eye drops anymore. There are no hopes anymore. For my family, it was very painful as well. And just because of that, I tell you that when I got completely blind, it was kind of liberation to me. Mm-hmm. And sports was always part of my life. I played blind soccer during many, many years. And in 2008, when a friend of mine, he was in Belgium, making a course of skiing for sport for blind people, and it was a scheduled workshop for teachers teaching the students how to teach skiing snow skiing for blind. And I was the only one who never saw snow. When this friend invited me to take part on this, I told him, no, it's crazy. I didn't know what snow, what ski, and he just told me, okay, but any blind Brazilian did it before, and okay, I completely changed my idea. Okay, I will be the first one, and I told to my mom, and she told me, okay, just don't come back with another disability, and you can go.
Okay, you had never seen snow before.
No, this was the first time.
You didn't know what to expect or anything. So why would you say yes to become the first? What does that matter to become the first Brazilian to do this? What story were you trying to tell, or what were you trying to achieve?
Actually, I don't care about being the first one. For me, the most important about this project were to do something that Brazilians were not used to do, because we are a big country, but we don't have snow. And so Brazilians are not used to skiing on snow. And I would like to show to my society that, okay, I'm blind and I could ski on the snow. Why should I do many other things here in my country? I ski because I have accessibility and I didn't have any prejudice against it. And so my goal was show Brazilians that blind can do everything since we have accessibility and that we don't have prejudice.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So speaking of accessibility, what are the main challenges that persons who are blind or visually impaired in Brazil, what are some of the main barriers or challenges that you all are facing?
Actually, I think the main barrier we're facing as blind is the lack of knowledge from the people about us. And this is my job. I don't blame prejudice. I know it's a kind of normal thing. When we don't know something, we have kinds of prejudice regarding to it. Not only bad prejudice, but good prejudice. And so when people don't know people with disability, they don't know blind people, they just think that being blind is the sadness thing. What I'm trying to do is changing this perception. In my YouTube channel, in my speech, I just answer like questions of people about how is my current life. They would like to know. When they ask me like, okay, can a blind people take a cell phone? Can a blind people live alone? Can a blind people walking alone by streets? Can a blind people clean himself after going to the bathroom? And I'm trying to answer this kind of questions because it's a way to get me closer to the society. When they understand that my problem is not being blind, But my problem is I live in a society that has prejudice against people with disability and that don't have accessibility. This is my blind. This is my problem, not being blind. And so I think the best way to show them is just open a window to get a conversation. This is my goal in my YouTube channel. This is the reason I try to answer all the commenters, and even it's waste like 3 or 4 hours per day. I think it's important.
Absolutely. What role do you think sport played in your life, shaping your character or your mindset or the way you see the world or other people? What role do you think sport has played for you?
Sports were very important to me. First of all, practicing sports. It's a social activity. We can develop our bodies. We can develop our sociability. We can develop our capability of working on teams. We learn how to win, but we learn how to lose as well. And for everyone, sports is very important, I think. For me, sport was even most important, because when you are blind, when a child blind, we hear many times that you cannot do something. Mm-hmm. Don't do that, you are blind. Don't run, you are blind. When I played soccer, I should run, because if I didn't run, there were another blind guy waiting for play on replace me. And so this showed me a lot, because I understood, okay, I can run on the court, and so I can walk on the street. This opened my eyes and to take me independence.
I love that. If I can run on the field, I can walk on the streets.
Exactly.
So, okay, as soon as you say walk on the streets, do you know what story this reminds me of?
When you were in New York?
Yes, when we were in New York. Okay, so I came to your hotel to pick you up. We were going on, with all of our GSMP brothers and sisters, we went on dates when I came to visit each of you in your city. So you and I, it was our date night. And I came and we had picked out a restaurant. Do you remember which restaurant?
Yeah, the bubble ones. I don't remember the name, but it was in Times Square.
Yeah, Bubba Gump Shrimp in Times Square.
Yeah.
And so we left your hotel, and I was looking on my phone following the GPS, and I turned right. And you said, no, Dr. Sarah, we go left. You walked us. You were my guide that night to get to Times Square, because I had no idea where I was going, and I couldn't even read my phone correctly. So you were my guide that night. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and I never had been in Times Square before. I just knew which direction we need to follow, because the Manhattan streets, they are numbered, and it's so easy to blind people, because as we know, the 13 is after the 29. We just know which direction needs to go. And so I love this, and I remember Dr. Sarah about this really nice experience.
It was such a fun night, for sure. So, and the food was delicious, right?
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure afterwards we went into some of the gift shops to look for some of the statues, right?
Yes.
So tell us about your statue collection and what this means to you. How many do you have now?
Nowadays, I have more than 600 of statues and miniatures from 80 countries.
80?
And to 80, yes. From 270 cities. And I love them because I can see the world through the miniatures. If an image is very important for everyone who can see, the image is very important for me, but I don't see the image through my eyes. I see them through my fingers. And when I touch on miniature, I know how shapes like Eiffel Tower or this monument of September 11th, and many parts of the world. And I love history and geography, and the miniatures, they allow me to see the world how it is.
I can't believe your collection has grown that much. That's amazing.
Yes, it's now they are leaving. The miniatures are leaving my home, not me, because they're not a space to me.
I remember you were running out of space. You needed a bigger cabinet or something. So
yeah,
I'll have to get the cities and the countries that you already have, so I can keep an eye out for the ones that you are missing.
Actually, there's no space. Even I love it, and of course, I always want more. This is like addiction, and and I always think, okay, I need one more, and
you're out of space.
It's a kind of patient, yeah.
Totally fair. Well, I was reading through your follow-on report. So after GSMP, you submitted a wonderful application for follow-on funding, and you gave a report on many of the schools that you visited and speaking at schools. And you said the word that the students in the schools and even the teachers made you feel like a rock star or a pop star, that they were lined up for your autograph. You also mentioned that there were a few stories that really impacted you, and one was of a young boy who was also blind. Let me find his name. Do you remember his name?
I think it's Kevin.
Yes.
I think it's Kevin. Because in Brazil, we have American names as well.
So
not everyone.
Do you remember what the encounter with Kevin was like, and what that moment meant to you and what he shared with you?
When I visit his school, he was like 6 years old, and I hugged him, and he was from a poor community, and I really think when he meets someone like me, he and his family can like watch his future, because when some child born blind, the family thinks that's the end of his life, but not this. I'm used to use a sentence on my videos. The sentence is, I believe in life after blindness. And I would like to show them that, okay, being blind is not a fun thing, or, okay, I'm very happy, I'm gotten blind. No, but we can live. I live. I dream, and I live my life, of course, with some difficulties, but I live my life.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And then there was another young boy with Down syndrome that you mentioned, and the impact that you had on him. Do you remember your interaction with him?
Yeah, it was
Marcio, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he was talking a lot to me, and he would like to know things about me, about my life. And I think for him, I was different. How can a blind guy can do something? And I was thinking to myself, how can a guy like him can do the things? And so it was a big meeting. and this was amazing experience.
Mm. So, Marcos, everything you do is around storytelling and communicating. So your YouTube channel is Blind Stories.
Yes.
Can you tell us your idea for becoming an author and publishing your first book, which is amazing. I can't wait to receive it. What is the book about? What were you hoping to accomplish? What was that process like for you? What did you learn? Tell us all about this project.
And before delivering speech, actually I was very shy, and I would like I like it to writing. Writing was my passion, not speaking. I do a diary every day since I was teenager, and I had 2 blogs, and in that blogs I use it to write down about my experiences, more or less as my videos, but in writing. I lost the 2 blogs because of problems on servers, and in the last time I was completely disappointed because I already had more than 80 texts published. And the book, the idea of publishing a book went after I completely being disappointed because I lost my blog. And the texts, most of them, which are parts of my book, they belonged to the blog. And the texts are chronicles of my daily life, writing 100% by myself. And it's not a biography, but I tell my stories. When I was a blind soccer player, about my travelings, and like a chronicles of some parts of my life.
Mm. So why was it important for you to put all those together and to share those with Brazil, and you're sending one to America? So what was important to you about sharing your chronicles and the stories? What are you hoping to achieve?
My mission is spread out my message. My message is that we are just blind. We are nothing else. And so the problem is the prejudice. And much ways I have to spread out this message, it's better for me. I already have my YouTube channel, my speech, and now I have my book. It's another way to do the same thing, the thing which moves me every day, and this is the goal of my book.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to ask, if it's a chronicles of your life, do you have 1 or 2 or 3 favorite stories that you can share with us?
It's kind of hard to choose in stories.
Of course.
But I don't know. I have many stories. I tell how was my experience during the final of a soccer World Cup in Brazil, in the match Argentina against Germany. Brazil is there is a big rivalry between Argentina and Brazil, and I was among Argentinians in the Maracanã Stadium watching the match, but I cheer for Germany, and it was like dangerous and funny sometimes. And I tell about my travelings, how a blind guy can experience one place when I travel. I tell about when I was a blind soccer player. Many stories. I tell 10 big things when you are blind that people cannot imagine. And I don't know, I have so much stories beyond the ones I published on my book. I think I have stories for many books, and because I live my life is a story itself, because I like it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me ask you this. Is the story of the GSMP in there? Is there any story from the GSMP or about the GSMP that you want to share with us?
Actually, my GSMP experience could be a book itself, because as I told you, I write every day. And of course, during GSMP, I wrote down every day and about my experiences, my fears, my sensations. I was a blind guy alone in another country, when among people that I didn't know, like, and talking a language that were not mine. And it was I think a big experience of my life. In GSMP itself, it could become a book. But yes, I have one story, a specific chronicle on my book about GSMP, and related GSMP with my childhood, because when I got blind, my mom, for example, she wouldn't allow me to go by myself on the streets, walk by myself on the streets. And once I was in GSMP, and I realized, okay, I'm in America, I traveled alone, and I realized that, okay, I think I win.
Especially because you were in New York City, of all places, by yourself, and you navigated to work every day and back and around the city. So yes, you won. you won that battle for sure. So you did mention that the pandemic has been really challenging, and I think many of us have been wondering, especially for persons who are blind and visually impaired, how has COVID-19, how has this pandemic affected you, especially because you rely on touch so much, right?
Yes.
But now no one is touching anything. And so can you explain to us what the unique challenges of this pandemic have been for the blind and visually impaired communities?
For me, as a blind, when I walk on the streets, I touch people to help me. But in COVID, it's not allowed to touch people. My work is delivering speech everywhere. But how do you agglomerate people during for watching some speech during the pandemic? And so I was very affected by the pandemic, and I had canceled just 5 events, and of course many of them were not many of another event were not scheduled. And but what should we do? It's a big challenge, of course, but not for me, but for everyone. We need to reinvent ourselves as persons, as humans.
Yeah, I think reinvention may be the word of the year for all of us, right?
Yes, exactly. There is no sense of complaining, because complaining doesn't change anything. And okay, I can complain for you. I was like 6 months with any speech. This used to be my life and the way I pay my bills. But what should I do? I need to reinvent myself. It doesn't mean it's easy. I'm just telling you, okay, it's easy, it's funny. No, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's painful, but there is another way to survive.
Yeah. So how are you reinventing yourself? What are your new strategies for coping, and how are you growing in new ways?
I'm investing time and spending time in my YouTube channel, because it could be a way to spread out my message and to give me some money on publish. And I'm doing online events. I think this is not the present, but the future on events, because it's cheaper, sometimes easier, and sometimes I feel it could be a nice consequence of this really bad situation, because I think in the future, most parts of the events will be online. And okay, I like to travel, I like to go, but I prefer taking online events than doesn't take any events.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I feel the same as you, is that the travel and the human to human connection I think it has reminded all of us how important our relations and the human to human connections are. Many relationships and things that we took for granted before they were taken away from us. Do you also feel this?
Yes, I think we need to think like not only you or not only us. It's a kind of collective situation. Our actions affect everyone. If you decide to not respect the things, the measures, you're not affecting yourself, you're affecting everyone. And so I think it's a kind of big lesson for us.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Well, you are talking to, for the most part, an American audience, as we are trying to raise awareness about National Blind Sports Week. So for those of us with sight, what advice do you have? What challenge do you have for us? What do you want to leave us thinking about after our time learning from you and getting to know you today?
To tell them that blindness is not the end of the world, and tell them that sports can change lives. And when I talk about sports can change life, I'm not talking about like Olympics or Paralympics athletes, big athletes. I'm talking about everyone. I'm talking about myself. I never took part on Paralympic Games, for example, but I can tell you that sport was very important part of my life. And if you see one child with disability that is at home, please take this child to sports practice. That I'm pretty sure sport will change this life.
The power of sport for all of us, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, Marcos, thank you always for your wisdom, your insights, just your time and your authenticity. Your heart is absolute gold and your brain is genius. So every time I feel like I am a better human after spending time with you. So thanks for sharing all of these lessons and your story, because stories make a difference. They shape who you are. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you, University of Tennessee. Thank you, GSMP. Thank you, Doug, for shutting up when I talk. And it's a big pleasure to me. Sorry, my English were a little bit dizzy. I didn't talk English for many times, but it's a big pleasure to talk to you. And I invited everyone to practice sport, to trust on people with disability, to see more than disability, and to watch the movie Raising Phoenix. That is a big tool of how sports can change lives.
Big tool. What a tremendous film. So what we'll do is at the bottom of this video, we're going to link people, Marcos, to your YouTube channel so they can get to see your YouTube channel. Even though it's in Portuguese, there's so much we can learn. I love watching your videos. We'll also make sure that everybody is aware of Rising Phoenix, the amazing documentary about the history of the Paralympics. What a powerful storytelling project for sure. Anything else that we should share with the audience in the notes or at the bottom of the page?
Just tell them for the, I don't know, first time that disability is not a sentence, not how can I say, when you are declared guilty, you're not okay, you're prison for all the rest of your life. No, it's just a diagnostic. We can do wherever you want. Science you trust on you, and science you trust the things you can do. Of course, you cannot do everything. Of course, not an easy thing, but it's not the end of the world. There is life after blindness.
There is life after blindness. Marcos, thank you for your wisdom. We love you, brother.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sara. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good night. Thank you.